Okay, so I'm going to show you. This is American persimmon. This American persimmons are a type of persimmon that is called stringent variety. That means you cannot eat them until they are really ripe, and they don't taste as good as the Fuyu persimmon, the Japanese persimmon. They are my favorite. So what I want to do is, since the American persimmon and the Fuyu persimmon that I have here, and it's another tree in the front yard, that Fuyu persimmon and American persimmons are the same species. They are persimmon family. So what I can do is I can cut this tree off. It's called grafting. So I'm going to graft it. I'm going to cut this tree off from the kind of the hip level. I would say about hip level. I'll cut it off because this is a big tree. You can see it's a big tree. I'm going to cut it off from the middle, and then I'm going to graft the Fuyu persimmon Scion, which is just a piece of the wood of the Fuyu persimmon on top of this, and this will then grow into it's called a rootstock. The rootstock will be the American persimmon, and then the remaining part, which is where I'm grafting from upwards, will be the Fuyu persimmon, the Japanese persimmon. So it'll be a rootstock of the American persimmon tree with the top of a Fuyu persimmon tree, which is very sweet variety. And Fuyu persimmon is called non-stringent. That means you can eat them even if they are not ripe. They don't have to be completely ripe. You can still eat them, and they'll be very sweet. American persimmons are not like that. They are very stringent. That means your mouth will pucker up if you eat without them getting fully ripe. Your mouth will get like acid taste. Not good. And that'll be the last time you'll be eating a persimmon. Okay, so American persimmon, the rootstock is very strong because Americanized. It's used to American environment. So the rootstock is very strong. So that's why I'm doing that. That I can use a strong root system, the American rootstock, with a Fuyu persimmon grafting on the top. So, and Fuyu persimmon produce a lot of fruit, very delicious. So that's what I'm going to do. And once I graft it, I put the Fuyu persimmon on the top. I'm going to seal it up really good, so it'll work. Okay. All right, so let's go for it. So now first thing I need to get is the tools. Then I need to get a Scion, which is the wood from the Fuyu persimmon from the front yard, and put it on top of that. All right, first I'm going to cut it off. So I'll show you how I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut it with a saw. All right. Woo-wee. So around just below the hip level, I cut it off. So the trunk of the American Persimmon is gone. Now I need to graft it. I need to clean it up first and then graft it. Alright, so this is my grafting tool. You see, that's my grafting tool. It has the different attachments, you see. So these are very good. You make sure you have to disinfect. So how I do it is I have chlorhexidine. You can use different things like alcohol, bleach, things like that. I have chlorhexidine. This is a very good disinfectant, okay? So I have a big bottle. I just filled it up in a small spray bottle and I'm gonna spray it just like that. So all the tools that you use for grafting, you have to disinfect, okay? Just like that. All right. So, all right. All good. So that's the grafting tool. Just clean it up. All right, so now you can see it's all prepared for the graft so that we can take the Fuyu Persimmon and put it on the top. The tools I have here, you can see in the box, little cutter for getting the Scion from the tree. Make sure it is disinfected, of course. How you do is use some disinfectant. This is chlorhexidine. I'm gonna just spray it like that. Spray here as well. Open it up, spray it there, and that should do it. Alrighty. So now that it's disinfected, we can go and cut the Scion, right? Alright, from the Fuyu Persimmon. So I have the tape for grafting. It's a grafting tape that you seal it up. I have a tree wound that is extra sealant on top so the water doesn't get in. I have a brush to brush that tree wound compound onto the wound of the tree or the grafting of the tree. I have a little string to tie it to make sure that the Scion is tight onto the trunk or the rootstock, okay? This is called the rootstock, okay? All right, so we're going to tie it on the rootstock. This is an envelope I made using some, I had this insulation lying around. It's a house insulation material. It's reflective, so it'll keep it cool. So I'm going to tape it up with some tape. This is like a Tyvek tape, which is for, like waterproof tape. So I use the waterproof tape with this to cover it up, because when you cover it up, it'll keep the moisture in. Then I have a little piece, little hammer and little tapping things to make sure I can tap into that wood. All right, and then have a saw, a scissor, grafting tool, and that's about it. So this is all you need, right? That's all you need. All right, so let's go and get the Scion. So let's go in the front of the house. That's where we have the Fuyu Persimmon. I need to get the wood of the new wood, which is the wood from this year. This you're supposed to do it in fall or spring or early summer to have more success rate, okay? Because then plants don't get a lot of shock. Because in summer heat, things get dried up too fast, and the Scion, the grafting, will not have a chance to take off properly. Although you might be able to do it, but success rate will be only 50%, right? But if you do it in fall or early spring, when they're coming out of dormancy or going into dormancy, you have a better chance of making it work. This is a very good way of doing things. That way you don't have to waste your trees. If you have American Persimmon tree, which has a strong rootstock, and has been, the tree I cut is like 2 years old. So if you have like a 2-year-old tree, don't waste it, just graft it. As long as it's the same species. Persimmon, peaches, plums, things like that. You can always get a better variety which fruits more and graft it on the same species, similar species, that'll fruit more for you. So grafting is like creating a hybrid between a strong rootstock and a strong fruiting tree. It's a combination of the two, the good of both worlds. So we are trying to get the Scion from this one because you can see how much fruit it's producing versus the other tree. The American Persimmon rootstock was not producing any fruit in 2 years. This has been about 2 years and it has producing much more fruit than other one. That's why we are going to do the grafting here, okay? We're going to take the Scion. Scion is nothing but a stem. From this, it has to be new wood. That means from this year, okay? So let's see. I don't want to cut a good one where I'm going to waste the fruit. So this one doesn't have any fruit, but this is from new year. Because you can see the wood is greener. You see the green wood? That's what you want. And the thickness of the wood should be like a pencil thickness. So I would say that is like pencil thickness. So I'm going to cut this off. That's all I need. I'm going to cut it from right there. That's 1-year-old wood. That's perfect. See that? That's perfect. So now we're going to have all these kind of fruits in the. This is Japanese Fuyu Persimmon. You're going to have this sweet Japanese Fuyu Persimmon on the American Persimmon rootstock. That'll be amazing, right? How much fruit it can produce. Just watch. You see this? Dozens and dozens of fruit it has. All right. So now let's go with this Scion. Now we have a Scion. That's called a Scion. You see? The new wood from this year. And this one has a lot of life because the new wood, a lot of growing potential. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to prepare this Scion for the rootstock. So the method I'm doing now is just a regular budding method, where you can just split the trunk and put it in there. There's other budding methods like bark budding, where you just take the bark out and put it in, things like that. So you can do different budding methods. There's tea budding, which I'll make another video. Tea budding is very less stressful to the tree because you can do it even in summer. This is July month, so it's a little late for grafting, but with tea budding you can still do tea budding because there's less shock to the Scion, less shock to the tree, and it will work. Because that's why tree budding was invented, is you can do it almost any time of the year with a very high success rate. All right, so let's prepare the Scion, Japanese Fuyu, sweet persimmon, non-stringent variety of Scion onto the American Persimmon, the stringent variety. So we'll have a hybrid tree which produces a lot of fruit, is what our goal is. So let's do it. me keep my camera in a good spot. Let me show you how it looks. See, I cleaned it up. It's a little slanting, which is good, so that things water and things will like won't stay on top. Little slanty. Cleaned out the side. Now I'm going to split this from right here. From here, I'm going to split it and put the Scion right there, and that's what will take off as a new trunk. It will take about 3 weeks or 4 weeks to know what's going on. And after 3 weeks, if you don't see any much budding, the bud breaking out, that means it's not good, right? Then you can try again, because the rootstock is still alive. You can just cut it and try again, okay? If it doesn't succeed, don't worry. The rootstock is very strong. It's always alive. It will come back, okay? All right. All right, let's see. Trying to get this camera lined up. Okay. There we go. A little better. All right. Let's give it a shot. All right, so now what you have to expose the cambium layer. See, just like that. You got the Scion and you took out the outer layer of the bark to expose the inside layer. And that inside layer, which is the cambium layer that you see there, that is what will make it connect to the rootstock. So now we're ready to put it in. We're going to slit the trunk out with a little, little cut and put this in there, okay? That's what you're going to do. So you can see how I'm doing it. I'm going to show you closer. You see? I split the trunk of this rootstock, and I'm going to put that in the cut that I made, okay? All right, so that looks kind of good. Let me show you. I put two of them in there between the trunk, right there. You see? Make sure it has good contact. You gotta make sure it has good contact. Now you're gonna put the grafting tape very tightly on it, okay? already. So I have taped it up really good. So make sure there is no water going in. There should not be any water going in. Now to make it waterproof, what I can do is I can actually put some tree wound compound to make it a double seal. So it'll be really tight seal there, waterproof. I'm going to put some of the tree compound on the top because it's a wound. I don't want that to get infected. So I'm going to put the tree compound on the top of the tips also and then cover it up to keep the moisture in, and that should work. All right, I'm going to tie a string to make it more tight so that the Scion is very tight to the rootstock. You don't want any movement because the Scion has to have very good strong connection to the rootstock. All right, so I tied a string around it to make it very tight for the contact, so the Scion has a good contact to the rootstock. Okay, now let's put some tree wound compound, which is this guy. I'm going to put it in to make it watertight, and put on the top of the tip of the Scion so that the water doesn't get evaporated by the sun, right? Okay. Alright, so it looks good. It's done. Whenever you take the Scion, I forgot to mention, make sure it has some buds on it, okay? Like there's a bud here, there's a bud on this side, you see the bud? You make sure there's a bud, so that's where the bud will break. When the rootstocks start feeding, it will break the bud, and that's where you can see the leaves coming out. About 3 weeks you will know if it's doing well or not. So now it's nice and sealed up. We also put that tree compound on the top, so the wounds are not going to evaporate water or moisture. And now we're going to cover it. We're going to cover it with this homemade envelope that we have and leave it there for 3 weeks and see what happens, okay? Within 3 weeks, if there is no activity, you don't see any leaves coming out from the bud, that means you're going to do it right again, okay? You're going to try it again because the rootstock is always alive. And that's how it goes. That's it, all done. Let's hope for the best. And I'm going to write the date on it, so I know about after 3 weeks to check it out. I can just open and check. I am going to write the date there, today's date, right? So that's how we know. So that's American Persimmon rootstock with the Fuyu Persimmon Scion. We are waiting for it to take off from the bud. And that's the old American Persimmon trunk that we cut it off. That's how you do grafting. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways of grafting. This is one way of doing things. But if it's you're doing it in the middle of a summer, not fall or early spring, then this is not the best way because the survival of the bud will be very limited, maybe 50%. To increase the survival of the graft, what you can do is you can do tree budding. So in tea budding, sorry, tea for tea budding, and tea budding is much more less intrusive and much more easier to do during any time of the year, even including summer. It's a less shock for the Scion and the tree. And I can show you another video showing how do you do the tea budding process, and that we can do on that one. We can do the tea budding on this one because this is also American Persimmon that is not fruiting. So that rootstock we can use for the Fuyu Persimmon Scion. And tea budding is like you just cut a part of the bark here and put a little incision, make a little incision and put the Scion, little cutting of the Scion inside it, tape it up, and that becomes the new trunk with a new hybrid fruit tree. Once that is taking off as a new trunk, you cut the top off. Once you cut the top off, that is tea budding. And this will not grow any further. If it does, you make sure you keep it trimmed, cut off, and then only this should grow as a new graft on top of the rootstock. If there is anything growing on the bottom, you have to cut it off. Don't let anything grow below the graft, below the cutting, right? So if there is something growing from the bottom, anything here, I'll take it off. Any leaf, branches, you don't want that. You want the rootstock to be American rootstock, and all the other part of the tree, you want to be the Fuyu Japanese Persimmon. So that's why you don't let anything grow below it. It should be just the rootstock, okay? Alrighty, this is it. Easy peasy.